What up, folks? I'm Ultrazilla, and today I have a review of the SH MONSTERARTS Godzilla 2023, aka Godzilla Minus One. Oh, look at that logo. I love that logo. This is a very cool box for the SH MONSTERARTS Godzilla Minus One, which releases officially in the US today. There's been some early screenings. I got to go on Tuesday, the day I unboxed this figure for the first time. I hope you caught that unboxing. But here now, we're gonna do an in-depth review of this guy, talk about all kinds of things, and it'll be an interesting one. I love the box though. It's really nice. I love the stark white. I love how the black logo looks on the stark white. I love how this logo here looks with the figure in it. On the top, we got some really cool, like, background here, patterned background with a really light logo over here. Now, a window that was kind of unnecessary. On one side here, we have a product shot. On the other side here, we have a product shot, kind of done with a filter, which is interesting. Then on the back, you get some more product shots. You get Yuji Sakai there, sculptor, master sculptor Yuji Sakai. And then we get the logo once again done as a window. And then we got the one side. That is awesome. I really like this box. I loved the movie. That is my non-spoiler review. Go see it if you haven't yet. And if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, please go secure those tickets and go see it. It is a fantastic movie. Not without its quirks, much like this figure. So without any further ado, let's get to this review. And here's Godzilla out of the packaging. Couple of things I want to talk about to start. First up, I did get this at HLJ. If you missed my unboxing, I picked him up at HLJ. He is currently sold out there, and I'm not sure about the availability of other Japanese sites. I honestly haven't looked. He costs a lot less, even with shipping, to get it from Japan. So, folks, let me, just tell you right now, I mean, a lot of folks complain about the prices, but when you see prices, don't consider the US prices for these guys the real price of them. The Japanese prices are always cheaper, and with the conversion rate, shipping it from Japan is a lot cheaper right now. So I really wanted to stress that, when I was talking about this, because I always see a lot of folks talking about the prices of these guys, and they're actually cheaper than you think. The other thing I want to preface this review with is, before we get in depth here, is, all the talk and the photos and the shots of the prototypes and how it translated into this final figure. They are different. I've seen the prototype in person. You don't have to tell me. I've seen it in person twice now. And this figure came out different. However, two things. Prototype, extreme. Both times I saw it in person, extremely overlit from overhead. Like, extremely. The light is right over the casing of this. And that lighting is in a, yellowish light. So the prototype comes out looking a lot more saturated in paint than I believe it actually is. And the prototypes were done a long time ago. Like, you could, we could argue about, prototypes versus final, till the cows comes home. And, it's, unfortunately, things don't come out looking like the prototype. And that's almost across the board. It's not an SH MONSTERARTS problem. It's a across-the-board problem. It's kind of part and parcel for what you get with toys, unfortunately. Do I wish it was different? Yes, I want to know what I'm buying, from the outset. But there's so many factors that go in to making a figure between prototype shown and final production, things change on, budgets, things change on source material. And I think, and I'll stop there because I don't want to make this whole review about that. But source material wise, when this figure was made, the VFX was still ongoing. Now, haven't seen the movie, and, having that knowledge of the movie versus the figure, the thing with the figure is final production, I do think they used a darker plastic. And when you watch the movie, he really is darker in the movie than those initial prototypes. Like, I would say most scenes, he looks a lot darker. Godzilla also goes through some changes in the movie, and not like, the spoilery changes, but like changes because of action scenes and whatnot happening. So there's that. He is also a hot mess in the movie. And I want to stress that. He looks like a mess, and I feel like some of those VFX shots vary a lot of how he looks from the water, from the land, and different scenes. So I definitely wanted to point all of that out as we get into this, and, I formulate my opinion on this. I have some opinion now, and there's some things I don't like about this figure, but there's things about it I really like. First and foremost, this sculpt is absolutely tremendous. Like, I don't think anyone will have any problems with the way Yuji Sakai sculpted this. Let's look at this tail. It is phenomenal. He's got a very interesting end of the tail, which I really like. It's kind of serpentine, and that's cool. It almost has its own little eye there. You see what I'm saying? There's something Shin Godzilla-esque about it, but I like how these ending dorsals look. Some of them are grayer than others, which means not touched with as much paint as some could be, but for the most part, it's looking pretty good. I like how they are painted. I like that kind of sandy look to them, It's pretty cool. They're interesting shapes, for sure. The big ones are, very pointy. They're kind of reminiscent of some of the stuff they did with, Godzilla Earth and stuff like that. Kind of like tree-like in a way. Not exactly the same shapes, but a lot of it just does remind me of that. You know what I'm saying? I'll zoom in even closer. But I think they're pretty cool. The paint is going to vary here and there. And like I said, Godzilla's a hot mess in the movie. And the paint on the actual design, the colors on the actual design, kind of are like that, The end design, not the design they've been working with, but the final products in the movie. So your mind's going to vary how you feel about this. But, we get a little more paint here and there. Some tend to look a little more splotchy. I'll be honest. I don't know how I feel about it. But my mind keeps going to how it looks in the movie. But look at the sculpt work. There's some sort of blue thing on there. I don't know if that's some sort of fuzzy. Oh, it's right in a crack. There's no blue on this figure, so I don't know. I think that's something that just got picked up along the way here. I'll try to get that. You see what I'm saying? There's a blue thing there. Not a big deal. The bottom of the tail, beautifully sculpted as well. You've got the paint starts over here on that. It doesn't, continue. And there's not much on the sides here. So, if you're big on that, there's not much going on. The feet are nicely painted. There is a lot of paint on there. I dig how that looks. The one thing I always say is, regardless of source material, regardless of whether or not it follows the prototype, if I end up liking the figure, it's going to get a good review from me, plain and simple. If I like a figure, I like a figure. If I don't like a figure, based on that, there's parts of it that I won't like. But I like how the legs look. I dig all that paint on the feet. I think it works. And, the fact that they aren't symmetrical, As far as the paint, and it varies. I have no problem with either because the colors on my toes don't look the same. I mean, like, come on. You know, you got quirks. The knees look pretty good, but I love the sculpt of the feet. They're big feet, and I love big feet on kaiju, on dinosaurs. You know, it's why I had no problem with like the Hammond Collection T-Rex when a lot of people did. I love big feet. The bottom of the feet look pretty good. Not bad at all. Very, very nicely done. Beautiful sculpt there. And going up the legs. I love how, you know, it's raised here into this little duo claw back there, and that looks pretty good. And then you got, you know, most of the paint over here in this segment is more towards the front. You get a little bit in the back. But then this leg is paint. Wait, I got another thing of blue here. What is that? Where does that come from? That's odd. See that? One instance is interesting. Oh my god, that is... I actually can't see. I'm so zoomed in. But I don't know what that is. I barely could see where it is with my naked eye looking past the camera. I think it's right here. I don't know what that is. Is the figure blue underneath? I would doubt it. There's no blue paint here, so I don't know. Any guesses? You guys let me know what you would think that is. But I love all the bumps and grooves, and oh my gosh, look at the amount of work in this thing. I love these cuts here. They look so good. So really, really nice legs. You know, sufficient paint when you zoom in and look at it there. Then you do get a seam line here, which has been a bit of annoying. You know, the fact that I could see this little line here, I guess that's a seam line. It could be like a paint line. Nah, it's got to be a seam line, but it's so off-centered, right? It's like an odd spot for me. Kind of does look like a paint streak in a way that's going down. But I like this little armored bit here for the Karashiji section. Again, sculpt work is pretty incredible. I do like it. The belly has paint on it, and that looks pretty decent. This whole section of hip looks pretty good. You know, and how it goes into the dorsals all looks pretty nice. I dig it. A little bit of white fuzzy in there. Oh, see, that's just a fuzzy. So that moved. But I like how that looks. Arm-wise here, you have paint on the shoulders, biceps, and forearms. All have paint on them. The hands look pretty good. I like the claws. Oh, there we go. Claws. Here's the other arm. Now this arm, and one of my issues with SH MONSTERARTS for the longest times is, you know, how things pop out. I have gotten this forearm popping out on me a bunch of times. Mostly because I was really trying to figure out the articulation here and how that works, and I ended up, you know, pulling this out a bunch, so I don't know if that's affecting it. But I like how the hands look a lot, just to finish up there. And in total, I think these arms look pretty good. So there's that. The chest I really dig. I think this turned out fantastic. Very nice looking here. Again, we saw the belly. Then you got this bottom segment here. And then you got this part here, which could have been a little bit better. It kind of looks okay when you're zoomed in here. Like, this comes down onto that pretty well. This here comes down on that pretty well. But then in the middle, I feel like there could have been a little more paint here to, you know, get this to this feeling a little more smoothly. Because then when you go up to the neck, it's not there again. That's not a big deal because, you know, chances are, you know, you're going to have the mouth closed or whatnot. But, you know, I feel like, yeah, even on the sides, it could have been, yeah, this bottom piece just could have been painted a little more so it gradiates just a bit better. Again, along the sides here, I think it looks fine. Along this piece here, I do get that seam mark again going down here. So I'll tell you this, if I zoom out, it almost disappears, and to the naked eye, it's gone. I don't see it at all. I do see this one up here, but I don't see that as much. So I think that this segment here is, probably various, figures are going to vary, right? Big production line and run, and especially for this figure, and your mileage is going to vary. It's kind of like one of those like Shin Godzilla cases. Some folks are going to get it worse. Some folks are going to get it better than others. That's unfortunately what we're dealing with here, is sort of a Shin Godzilla thing. But like Godzilla Minus One in the movie, like I said, Shin Godzilla is kind of a mess. So, the way you end up looking at your figure, have looked at that figure at that point, I liked my Shin Godzilla figure, and I didn't think it was that bad. Your miles are going to vary here, kind of like it did there. I feel like that's the best comp, in the line as far as paint goes and how you could interpret that paint. Because I tell you, I don't think it's as bad as a lot of folks think. And this is something at least I don't think I've mentioned yet. Haven't seen the movie. And again, I go back to this because it's really important, because the trailers don't show every scene of Godzilla. Haven't seen the movie. He's a lot darker in the movie than he is in some of the scenes in the trailer. In later scenes, he's a lot darker. There's a scene where he's like walking across somewhere, and trying not to spoil it at all. And the dark parts come through a lot, and it makes all of those splotches stand out a lot. So I think the fact that they changed what the base plastic looks like was in accordance to what they probably saw as they got more footage shown to them of the movie. And you know what? I will fully admit that could also be a product of the movie theater I saw it in. And that's no offense to the Japan Society, but it's no IMAX, right? So I will fully admit that. But, I'm except for here where I do feel like it could have been blended better, a lot of this looks really good. I love the chest. I like the legs a lot. I like what they did on the dorsal fins. I mean, let's look at the head now. Because the head sculpt, a lot of folks hate this. But my gosh, I don't know how much, this is on the box. I don't know how much I could stress that this thing here, which I'm not going to reveal what it is, because it is something, is prominent in the movie. Like, that is there. So, I mean, this cannot be a focus of complaint, because it is what is there in the movie, and it's there for a reason. And I don't think that's bad, you might not love it, but unfortunately, that's the movie. I think the nose came out okay. The eyebrows, which some people aren't loving, don't like, they are different colors. And again, that's for a reason. But yeah, I think it's fine. The mouth has some nice blacks in there with the reds and, mixed up. Looks pretty good. Teeth are okay. Let's see. I always have some problems with the SH Monster Arts teeth, but this side is not terrible. I love the sinewy bits in the corner. And then this side looks pretty good. Not bad. The eyes, and I know some folks have had problems with the eyes. I think that one looks good. And I believe this one looks fine too. So they are tiny. Let me tell you, these eyes are so tiny. So even super zoomed in, it's hard to say. But I think my eyes are good. I have unfortunately seen a bunch that are not. But again, you know, I mean, I can't be, I'm not reviewing other figures, I'm reviewing my figures. So that's unfortunate. I will say that, you know, that stinks whenever that happens. It's happened to me plenty. So I know that feeling. It's not great. And again, not just a SH Monster Arts problem. So, you know, I want to stress that because folks harp on certain things all the time. But these problems are not limited to this line of figures. And I'm not just talking Godzilla figures, guys. There's a much bigger world than just Godzilla figures out there, you know. This stuff happens. It's unfortunate, and you know, I wish it wasn't the case, but you know, 2,000 plus reviews here, and I've seen it all too many times across so many lines. But overall, you know, looks wise, except for this neck, which mine's gonna vary. You know, I'm gonna say I don't have much of a problem with this figure. I feel like I want to like try to kind of just dumb down the middle a little bit. You know, like if I do that, I think I'm fine with the rest of it because the rest of it has meeting points, and that's kind of what you want. I feel like over here it kind of just stops, maybe a little bit off the top. I don't know. I'll have to see. I'm not much into customizing the figures. I kind of like having and seeing, you know, what that figure was and constantly knowing what it is. You know what I'm saying? I'm one of those instead. But overall, again, and my perspective here is also having seen the movie and how I feel about the movie and what I feel like I saw in the movie. This is not far off from the movie. Is it perfect? No. But is it pretty decent? Yeah. I think it's beyond pretty decent in my book. Alright, so articulation on this guy. The mouth opens and closes. I think it opens decently enough, you know? I don't know if this tongue moves. You know, most move on the Godzilla. Yeah, it moves. It is articulated. Yeah. So that's good. The head moves. Then you got a joint here, and you can do that, which is awesome. You can go fully in there, which helps a lot. So, you know, because then, you know, you get less of that neck. So that's good that you could do that, you know. So, you know, I will say when I got this guy out of the package the other day, it was kind of stuck over here at this joint. I did have to like work it a little bit, and now I could fully get in there. So that is excellent. And then as you can see, this part moves as well. I like that. Moves back and forth. And this moves as well. It also comes out pretty easy, and I also made myself bleed. So let's go take care of that. But before I do, yeah, this thing has a little joint in there, so don't lose that. As well as these two little ones on the side. They do move to help move you out of the way. And I'm sure it's not a spoiler because it's in the trailer. You see that Godzilla, you know, his dorsals move when he does atomic breath. I wish more of them moved. They are all glued in, so would it be too much to ask Tamashi when we get the eventual heat ray version of this if we could get them all to pop out a little? I know that'll be a pain in the butt, but that would, how awesome would that be? But yeah, so these dorsals do move. Then we have articulation right in here. Really good one, actually. Pretty well done, I gotta say. Now, while these are cool that they move and you can move them out of the way, I do wish this moved better. See, this one bumps up against it. If you watched, I forget which Haya review I did recently. Actually, the last two, right? The last two Godzillas I've reviewed. That was a thing that bothered me. So that bothers me here as well. Because I just feel like I'm going to totally damage this particular dorsal fin. You know, it's going to have to be that you move him kind of out of the way a little bit to articulate that point. That's the bottom point. So you got the top here, and then this is more of the waist joint, which actually works really well. And all of this goes in. Look how far down. I think this is one of, despite what I'm saying, I think this is one of the best articulated Godzillas we've gotten, period. It's pretty well done. So that's pretty cool. You do have a floating piece here. This one right here does float. And then you have the leg articulation, which is pretty good. Kind of, comes out and goes in really well. I like that. I think that's very nicely engineered. Goes up, goes down, free. And not really, like, much of a gap, which is, one of the things we're always talking about here is the gaps, when we talk about Monster Art stuff. Then the knees move okay. I mean, it's not like a ton of range of motion, but, it works all right. You got the floating piece there, which looks good. Did we even talk about the knees? They look pretty good. So there's that. And then you do have, this kind of duo claw area. I don't know what to call it. It says ankle, but like it's high ankle. That moves well. And then I don't know if you've noticed, but the toes, these 3 toes at least, not the little one, are articulated. I love that. That is incredible, in my opinion, that they did that here. Beautiful. Very much works. Nothing's popping out on me. That's fantastic. It is. And then you got all the awesome Godzilla tail articulation that you would want. And it all works pretty good. Yeah, nothing popping out on me. Oh, it's going to do it now that I said it. But for real, nothing here. All of it works very, very well. Nice job there. So, articulation-wise, I think this Godzilla is pretty phenomenal, honestly. That brings it up a few levels here, because sculpt-wise and articulation, it is fantastic. So, your mileage is going to vary on how you feel about the paint and how good or bad your paint come out, but you can't deny that this figure, sculpt-wise, is incredible. And one thing I don't think I mentioned when I was looking at everything about the dorsal fins that I saw when I was, pointing out that stuff and looking at it, is the way his dorsal fins, like, some of them in the middle, they're, like, coming up, like, on roots. I think that's so weird and interesting and scary, just as a overall creature design. So, pretty cool there. Yeah, I dig it. That is awesome. And like I said, that articulation is pretty great. I talked about all this, like, neck articulation. I forgot, like, one of the best things about it and why this is really made like this, to move like this. Because, as you see, I've, like, pushed it in pretty far. And now, like, you can raise his head a bit to get more of... you just got to make sure this goes in the right place. Or just take it out. The thing is, I can't tell which way it's supposed to go sometimes. All right, there we go. So now it pushes in. And now you could do, like, kind of this, like, roaring forward thing, bent over. That's why you got all this awesome articulation as well. So, yeah, that's pretty amazing. For your size comparisons, first up, here's a grouping of figures that I had sitting here at the desk. So it's got a nice little variety here, so you can see how big this Godzilla is. And here's Godzilla Minus One with my own SH Monster Arts class of 2023. These are the SH Monster Arts figures I've picked up and reviewed that came out this year. Yes, I didn't get Gamera 3, the redo of that, and I didn't get Iris. I think that's it. There was some, like, re-releases that I wasn't gonna get, but yeah, these are the ones I did pick up. Will I get those other two? Maybe at some point. It doesn't look like it's gonna happen before the end of the year, unfortunately for me. So they won't be factoring in the best of the year. But which of these will make the best of the year? You let me know your choices down below. And lastly, how about some other Godzilla lines, like, the defunct NECA, the ongoing Haya, and the ongoing Super 7. And a quick bonus comparison, I'm tossing this in after the fact. As I'm editing, I was like, hey, you know what? I forgot something. Here is the movie Monster series Godzilla the Ride figure with this, because it's kind of the precursor to the design, and even before this, the director of Godzilla the Ride and Godzilla Minus One, Takashi Yamazaki, directed a film series called Always Sunset on 3rd Street. And Godzilla makes an appearance in that. This design dates back to that. So it's like that initial appearance, then this, and you can see the progression that Yamazaki, as a VFX director and designer, has carried over. This is his Godzilla. There's things that, are similar and things that are different, but, you do got that little elbow, kind of bump there, spike that, becomes more prominent here. The spikes are more Godzilla-esque here, but if you really look at them, there's genesis here of what becomes these crazy spikes. And of course, the head sculpts are very, very similar. Of course, there's a movie monster series and not an SH Monsterarts, but there was no SH Monsterarts of this, and I didn't get the movie monster series of Godzilla Minus One yet. I'm on a little break from movie monster series as we went into 2023 a little further. So stay tuned, 2024, or maybe something else in 2023. We'll see. It's not over yet, but just wanted to do that comparison because I felt like they needed to be together on screen here. And my final thoughts? Well, let's start with the really, really good. Sculpt is excellent. It turned out phenomenal. Even better, the articulation is awesome. I love how this figure articulates. It's probably the best of the Godzilla figures in the line. Articulation-wise, it's gotta be one of the, I'm gonna say, it's probably one of the best articulated Godzilla figures, period, across any line. That's how good this figure is. Couple that with, nothing really popping out. Nothing popped out on me in this review, except, when I pulled out the dorsal fin, which I think they could have done this a little bit better, but as long as I don't lose them, I'll be happy, but I wish that was done a little bit better. But I do also hope that we get something that, translates that, heat ray effect, and how it affects the dorsal fins in a future release. I think that will be pretty cool. And, these are evident that they can do it. But articulation, sculpt is phenomenal. Now, paint is where, opinions are going to vary. However, I do want to point out again that the plastic color being a little bit darker here, I believe, compared to the protos. Again, the protos are shot a certain way, and the protos that I've seen in person are lit, extraordinarily lit overhead. But it appears to me that they went with a darker plastic, and I think that's because the VFX in the movie changed towards the end to make them a little bit darker. And it's evident in the movie because a lot of these splotches really stand out in the movie. And I think a lot of folks that, have watched the movie already and that are watching this review can probably attest to that as well. Do chime in down below how you feel about that, because, again, like I said in the review earlier, I'll fully admit that maybe it looked darker on the screen I saw it at. But maybe not. Maybe I'm right there. And that's why my opinion on this figure is formulated a certain way. Now, and the thing, I think universally folks who are watching this can agree is the neck could have been a little bit better, blended better to the next segment. But otherwise, I don't really have a problem. My eyes look like they're in the right spot. I don't have a problem with how, painted the legs are. I think that looks really good. So there's a lot I like about this figure. And, you know, one major thing, you know, that I don't like, you know, like, I think that could have been a little bit better. Does it hurt the enjoyment of this figure? Right now, not as much, because, again, the image of the movie and the sculpt of this and the articulation are all playing into that. We'll see how the, next few weeks go. I'm gonna definitely see the movie again. And I have a best of the year to do, so I'm really going to be examining this particular figure, because the things I like about it, I like a lot. So, like, I'm going to be examining this figure even more with a fine tooth as for myself as we go. So I'll be interested to see how, ultimately I'll feel about this figure as we go, and how other figures coming out, based on this design, ultimately affect, my long-term thoughts on this particular one. But for now, it is a mixed bag, but I think more good than bad, and I'll leave it at that, guys. You guys let me know how you feel down below. If you're new to the channel, why don't you go ahead and sub yourself for daily content, and let me help you diversify your collection. Till next time, peace out, peace. Go see Godzilla -1. It is fantastic.